Good evening, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing a movie which I finished watching yesterday while I was cycling on my static bike, and the movie is Smile 2. And my first impression was, oh my god, you guys, this movie was so scary. I was shivering in my timbers and I literally almost peed myself a little. And what I'm saying, I suppose, is that if the smile entity infected me, it would have years of psychological scarring to feast on prior to forcing me to kill myself. So this movie was about 2 hours long, and I rated it 2.5 out of 5 stars. So there will be some spoilers ahead. And now that I have eliminated all the reactions you thought I would have after watching this movie, since so many people have been saying that this is an amazing movie, a fantastic movie, and I should watch it. And yeah, here is what I actually thought of it. So, firstly, there are some positive things I need to say, which is why I didn't rate it less than 2.5 stars. So, the acting is obviously brilliant in the sense that it's trying to depict a mental illness in the most tangible, memorable, and emotional way. And the concept is also fantastic in this regard. And I also do recognize that it takes quite a lot of talent, it's quite the skill to blend fiction with reality so smoothly. And I did, however, on the other hand, right, I found myself chuckling or even laughing on certain occasions for the reason that I couldn't immerse myself to an extent where I could separate the actors from the characters, and what the actors were tasked with doing was rather hilarious. When you ignore that this is all meant to be a story, right? When you were not really immersed into the story and you think of it as a director telling actors what they are meant to do, this movie takes a completely different form. And truthfully, however, we do need more people to smile in today's world. And the smiling itself, rather than freaking me out as it did the main character, it actually put me in a good mood. I wasn't expecting to laugh during what is referred to as a horror movie or a psychological thriller. I remember watching the first movie a couple of years ago when it first came out, 2022, I believe, and it didn't blow my mind, but I did enjoy the concept. And in this one, I was expecting that we would finally get some answers rather than getting a setup for another movie where they're just milking the cash cow at this point already. So, I mean, before I dive into that point, I want to mention how the main character, Sky Riley, who is a pop star, comes across as a wannabe Scarlett Johansson and Lady Gaga mix. That was my impression of her. And hair ripping out her hair due to her anxiety reminded me of Ashley from The Boys. If you've watched The Boys, you know exactly what I am talking about. And I feel as though The Boys inspired a lot of this movie, considering how it tried to differentiate between the life a celebrity leads truly and the one that same person allows his or her fans to idolize. So, for instance, when you have a pop star on stage, the life people think that person is leading is completely different to what is actually happening behind the scenes. And more often than not, the fans are blind to what is actually happening. And honestly, I wasn't particularly entertained. And what I was most afraid to realize was how desensitized I've truly allowed myself to become to this entire genre, which is why I'd stopped watching horror movies altogether. And I simply find myself yawning whenever I'm watching one of these movies, unless it's more of a satirical horror movie like Studio 666 was, for instance. So, yeah, I find myself yawning throughout, apart from chuckling at the realization that I am falling asleep. So, that is basically the only irony that is keeping me awake. And yeah, I mean, I didn't find this movie to be entertaining despite the positive aspects it had. And I was truly, looking forward to getting a definite explanation as to how the entity works. The smile entity creature thing, we don't really get a proper explanation with regard to how it works. Or perhaps the explanation is so simple that it doesn't really need any explaining. But it's weird to me that if it's said to function like a parasite, why wouldn't it ever try to multiply? Why would it only try to transfer itself from one person to another rather than infecting thousands of people? Because it had the perfect opportunity to do this in this movie. And a celebrity would have been the perfect victim and the perfect host for such a virus, really. Um, and yeah, following my argument, um, I don't see why the director didn't really go for that sort of approach. We can't know for sure why the demon can only possess one person at a time. If they do decide to make another movie in this franchise, perhaps we will finally get an answer. Or maybe my theory that it's just too straightforward that it doesn't need an explanation is also true. If you know anything that I don't, make sure to let me know in the comments section. It's been a long time since I watched the first movie, so there are some things which um, I might have forgotten since then. So, yeah, one thing basically that's very, very important is never to do drugs, regardless of whether you're a child or an adult or anybody else. Just stay away from drugs. That is a very, very positive message. And it doesn't have to be me reviewing this movie to tell you not to do drugs. I mean, common sense and watching such movies and hearing stories should really you don't need to fear drugs, right? You just need to realize that there are consequences to your actions, so just stay away from them. Also, one more important thing, perhaps more important than not doing drugs, is not to do drugs and drive whilst carrying a gun. That sounds like a very American thing for some reason, but it happened in this movie. And once again, I was not impressed, but I'm glad to have watched this since a friend of mine asked me to review it on my channel. And if you're watching, you definitely know who you are. So leave a comment down below if you're watching and if you've watched until the very end. So thank you to all the people who recommended this movie to me, I suppose. I don't understand why some people enjoyed it so much because I certainly didn't find it to be as enjoyable as people said it was. And let me know whether there's anything I might have missed in the comment section, but to be honest, this just wasn't for me, I suppose. Perhaps horror just isn't my sort of genre. If you have any recommendations, any horror movie you'd like me to review on this channel, for instance, one person told me to review Terrifier 3, but I haven't watched the other two yet, so I might review the entire franchise, let me know in the comment section. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out the rest of my content because why shouldn't you? It's absolutely brilliant. And I'll see you in the next one, hopefully, very, very soon. Bye, guys.